I can't believe I loved this book. Normally, I hate sci-fi, but this one grabbed me and would not let go. Oh my goodness. Faye is happily married with two daughters that she absolutely adores, but something is missing in her life. Her mother died when she was 8 years old, and she has never gotten over that loss. There were so many things she wanted to ask her mother and never got to. There's so many things she doesn't know. She doesn't even know for sure how she died because she was too young and everyone was trying to protect her and didn't really tell her any details. She never even got to go to her mother's funeral. Well, she has a box with a few very special childhood treasures. And one day, she takes it up to the attic for safekeeping because she doesn't want anything to happen to this box. And she's afraid maybe her girls might play with it and destroy it or something. And she takes it up to the attic. And when she's up there, she accidentally breaks a light bulb. And because there's glass all over the floor and she's barefoot, she steps into the box to avoid stepping on the glass. Immediately, she plummets through time and finds herself back in her childhood home with her mother and her childhood self. She is thrilled to have this chance to finally ask her mother questions that she always wanted to ask her, to get to know her better and to spend time with her. But she is torn because she also misses her daughters and her husband, and she wants to go back to them. So after spending some time with her mother, she eventually goes and gets back in the box and returns to them. And she lands back in her attic. She finds that only 3 hours have passed while she was gone, even though while she was gone there at her mom's house, a day or two had gone by. So she was very thrown off by the difference in time there. Well, of course, her husband wants to know where she was and what happened because she disappeared for 3 hours and he couldn't find her. She landed in the attic. He heard the thud and he rushed upstairs and wanted to know what happened. She's afraid to tell him what happened. He'll think she's crazy. After all, who would ever believe you if you said you went back in time and saw your dead mother and your childhood self? So she comes up with some flimsy excuse or story and tries to just brush it off as nothing. Well, as time goes on, she gets to thinking she really wants to go back and see her mother again. She still has questions for her and she just desperately wants to spend some more time with her. But she also knows that she's taking a risk every time she does this. She doesn't know for sure, will she be able to come back? So many things could go wrong. Will her doing this somehow affect her future and ruin it? She couldn't bear for anything to happen to her girls or to destroy her marriage. So she definitely faces a dilemma. She ends up confiding in a very good best friend of hers who is blind, and he helps her along her journey. It is just an incredibly interesting story. And this is what I want to add to. There is a shocking ending. The last couple chapters of this book, you will not be able to stop. You'll have to just keep reading. I was like, I don't care what's going on. Nothing. Like, I will be finishing these last chapters. Just don't anybody talk to me. Bye. It was intense. I actually hollered no at one point. And there was just such a shocking twist. Like, I can't say enough. Like, it was fantastic. I loved it. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Now I have a question for you. She has to make a very, very important decision, weighing the consequences of going back in time and whether that could ruin her current very happy life. And trying to decide what the right thing to do is. So my question for you is, I think this would be a great book club book because there's just so much you could discuss here. So please tell me in the comments, would you go back to visit your past? If you could go back and visit and then come back safely and not lose anything in your current life, if you could visit your past, would you visit your past? Like that, I think is a very interesting question. For me, I thought about it. We're going to treat this like a little book club discussion because I do love a good book club discussion. For me personally, I think while I had so many happy memories in my past childhood growing up, I'm a completely different person now than I was then. I've grown a lot. I've learned a lot. I've matured a lot. I've changed in so many ways that I think if I went back, it would tarnish the happy memories that I had, because at that place in my life, I was so incredibly happy. But I don't think I could ever be happy again because I'm a different person. The things that I loved then, I might not love now. I see things differently. Some things that I thought then, I now think about differently. I have educated myself on some things that I thought in the past, and now I realize not to get too philosophical, but I feel like for me it would be very disappointing, because I also think sometimes that we romanticize the past. We imagine our childhoods as perfect and wonderful, because in reality, unless you've had something traumatic happen to you in your childhood, which thankfully I did not, I had, a loving mother, and a happy childhood, and she did everything to make sure that I had a happy childhood, me and my sister. So I feel like all I remember is the good rosy stuff, and I'm afraid that if I went back, I might find that it wasn't as good as I thought it was. And you just never know, it's kind of like, okay, here's a good example. You often, when you go back to visit your childhood home, you're like, oh, but I remembered it as bigger. I remembered it as prettier or better, and then you realize that things were not, because in your childhood eyes, you saw things differently. And I'm just afraid of being disappointed. My childhood home is in another state, and I've never visited as an adult. And someone else lives there. Family does not live there. So it's not like I can just go knock on the door and say, hey, can I see my childhood home? I feel like for me, it would be disappointing. So yeah, I would like to know, tell me your deep philosophical answers if you want, about how you've changed as a person over the years, and tell me your deep thoughts on this. What are your thoughts if time travel were possible? I think it is an interesting concept. And then you've got the idea of, what if you could time travel into the future? Again, that would be frightening, because you don't know, would the future be better or worse? Honestly, I think I'm too much of a scaredy cat to try time traveling forward or backward. Please tell me your thoughts on this. I would really love a lively discussion about it. So please tell me your thoughts.